So St. Louis. So there's a couple things about St. Louis. First off, very good team. Had a nice run. Didn't go as long as last year's. But they look good. Right? Well, let's get into that. In a year where a lot of teams have a lot of cap space, going into next season, if the cap's at $73 million, the Blues have $4.4 million in cap space. How? Well, Tarasenko, Stastny, Steen, Schwartz, Laterra, Berglund, Perron, Saboka, all north of $3 million. So a lot of money there. On the blue line, let me take a look at the blue line here. Bouwmeester and Pietrangelo combined to take up $11.9 million against the cap. It's a lot of money. You got Gunnarsson, Bertuzzo, and Edmondson, and then a restricted free agent is Parayko. Parayko's going to want to raise. If you look further down their forward lineup, you got Reeves, Yaskin, Brodziak, and Fabry. And Robbie Fabry, sadly, got injured going into the playoffs, and who knows? Tremendous potential there. There's two RFAs that are interesting. You have Nail Yakupov and Magnus Piguarvi. The Edmonton Castoffs in St. Louis. Another Edmonton castoff is Perron, whose $3.75 million comes off the cap next summer, and Stastny's $7 million comes off the cap next year. So that's $10.75 million next summer. To get them to next summer, you got to figure out how to keep everything together and improve the team so they're more of a contender next year, while keeping in mind you only have $4 million in cap space. On the blue line, Schmaltz appears to be the most likely to make the jump. Up front, Barbashev is going to get a shot. Based on where he was drafted, the hype surrounding him, he's going to get a shot. And especially when you consider the fact that they've got a lot of high-priced forwards, and if they have a chance to move one, they'll do it. Of course, they're one of these teams that should be burning up the phones to Vegas, saying, hey, we want to get rid of one of our higher-priced guys. Can you help us out? We might throw in a draft pick to make it worth your while. And if Vegas hangs up the phone on them and doesn't pursue that, it'll be interesting to see what they do in the offseason. I like the Blues. Jake Allen came into his own as a goaltender in the postseason, and I like Carter Hutton as a backup. I think Hutton is a very good backup. And in terms of their goaltenders, they're both signed to reasonable cap hits. So there's no reason to move either of them. I personally think the Blues likely take a step back next year if they can't make that improvement. If you're not going forward, you're going back, is the old phrase. And there's going to be a lot of competition in the Central next year, as there is every year in the Central. Chicago should still be Chicago, at least regular season-wise. You got to think if they keep their core together, they're at least going to compete. Nashville is in the final for a reason. They're going to be up there, and I think Winnipeg is going to have a huge bounce back next year. So that's 3 spots. And it gets tough beyond that. And St. Louis doesn't want to get into that muddled group where they're behind Minnesota and needing to get a wild card when the Pacific is due for a bounce back. And that's due to happen. So you need to move something out. Now, I've never been sold on Jori Lehtera. And I said it last summer, and I'm saying it again this summer. I'm not sold on Jori Lehtera. And that's just me. I think Jori Lehtera is a center. I mean, he slots in behind Stastny when Stastny's playing. Berglund had a great year, and he cashed in with a 5-year deal worth $3.8 million per season on the cap. But Berglund's really strong season, I honestly think it's going to be a bit of a mirage. I think, again, contract season, big goal totals, and it's just going to fall apart from there. But that's me. I'm an optimist, or whatever that other word is. I think in terms of teams in the division, St. Louis is going to have a hard time staying ahead of those that finish behind them, and I have a hard time foreseeing them getting better. But Jake Allen proved in the playoffs that even when they're not playing well, Allen can drag him. Allen dragged him past Minnesota. Allen played very, very well against Nashville. They ran into a team in Nashville that was better than they were. And with Jake Allen as a goaltender, it is hard to bet against them making the playoffs, but it is hard to see them going very far. Now, one area where I was wrong going into the playoffs, when they traded Shattenkirk, I thought they were insane. I thought trading Shattenkirk was a crazy move. I thought it was stupidity, and it turns out that their defense didn't need Shattenkirk as much as Shattenkirk needed their defense. Shattenkirk wasn't as effective in Washington as he was in St. Louis, and their defense got better when Shattenkirk was gone. And again, I think Shattenkirk's going to get overpaid in the summer, and I think somebody's going to regret the contract that he gets. Because St. Louis got better when he left. I think it's possible Washington's defense could get better. And that's without players they're going to lose, like I'm going to describe in the video about Washington tomorrow. But it's a matter of what St. Louis has, where they've been, the success they've had lately. It's hard to write them off completely. It is hard to look at St. Louis and say, well, they're just not going to be any good next year, because that would be ridiculous. But at the same time, I really think Winnipeg's going to move up in this division. And I think teams ahead of them are likely going to take them for granted that first 20 games. And I think it's going to be interesting to see how things proceed from there. I like Parayko. I like Yaskin quite a bit. I've been very verbal about my support of Sobotka. I was very happy to see Sobotka coming back. But outside of Tarasenko, healthy, reliable star players to play with him are not that available. You look at their lineup right now, you've got Steen's 33, Stastny 31, Lehtera's 29, Berglund's 29, Perron's 29, Sobotka's 29, Reeves is 30, Brodziak's 33. You got to get some more youth in there. You have to. Because Tarasenko is damn good. But he can only do so much by himself. And beyond that, you're in trouble. You've got a whole situation here where you're in trouble. Again, yeah, I could see Schmaltz on that blue line if they decided to lose somebody off the blue line in free agency. And I want our expansion. I want to say, too, I want to clear up when I sort of brush off the expansion part. It's because, as I've explained before, the players who end up with the expansion team with Vegas are likely not going to be the guys we think they're going to be. Deals are going to get made. Expansion lists are going to be unexpected. And at the end of the day, the players who actually open the season in Vegas could look completely different than that expansion night roster. And, I mean, we'll see what happens. But in terms of guys off the roster, they've said that George McPhee wants young and he wants fast. And if that meant Edmondson, maybe. But it is hard to project young, fast players that are going to be available that Vegas would be jumping at. You guys can let me know what you think in the comment section below. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. And thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.